Hello, welcome to Chapter 9 of The Solution. I'd like to talk to you today about our country's education system. Now, in no particular order, one of the problems that we're facing is the fact that although unions were very, very important um, during the Industrial Revolution, and unions are important to protect workers from businesses that take advantage of them. The problem with teachers' unions is that you get a teacher who's been there for 10, 15 years. She's put in her time, or he's put in her time, and they got 15, 20 more years to go. And they're no longer interested in it, but they can't switch careers. They lose the enthusiasm for their jobs. Their abilities to teach are diminished, and we are unable to, and the unions are blocking our ability to get rid of those particular teachers. Performance-based, I suppose you'd call it, and then the question becomes, well, how do we test to see, what kind of students this teacher's putting out versus that one? There are ways, okay? And the unions block those ways, all right? Do they not care about our education system? I won't go that far, but they care about the unions and their members more. They're very protectionist in that regard. So that's why we're having this big push for anti-unions movement in this country right now, where yes, Republican governments, state governments, are trying to pass laws and are passing laws to take away collective bargaining to some degree. But different subject. Another thing, we focus on our graduation levels too much, and so our curriculum is a lot easier than many other countries in the world, and that's why we're 17th in math and 25th in science, by my last account. Our curriculums have to be tougher, and I propose that if a school district has students with 5% A's, 5% of the students have A's, then that curriculum needs to be more difficult. So there are less A's. Now, some may argue that, well, if we don't have A students, how do they get into college? But the fact of the matter is colleges are not ignorant as to what's going on in elementary and in high school, and what the country, if we made some changes, they'd understand that a student with a 3.1 is equivalent to a 3.8 in the old days before the changes. There are ways of teaching students. There are 7 ways of reaching a student, or reaching a student's brain, and we have this standard way of teaching that's math and English. All right. I mean, the sciences fall into the math category, English words, alphabet, but there's also musical and rhythmical ways of reaching certain children. That's how their brains are set up to learn. Is it because mom listened to rap while the baby was in the womb or whatever? The cause is irrelevant. The fact of the matter is that there's more than one way to teach a student. There are 7. And if we can classify our children and understand what's the best way to reach each child and group them and teach them that way, I think we're going to turn out more intelligent Americans. I think that school years should be longer. Year-round, I don't think year-round is necessary, but I could see, or that summer vacation split up more so that there's 2 weeks every 2 months the kids get off, something along that line. But year-round school, I think, is important. Other countries are doing it, and it's working. School uniforms. Fashion is a distraction in school. and any distraction we can get rid of so that the kids are focused on what they're supposed to be focusing on, and that's learning, retaining, and there is socializing. And I'm not gonna belittle that, because that's where our children get socialized as well. We live in a society where very few families have a parent that stays at home. When that happens, children tend to do better in school and focus more and realize the importance of their education. It's easy to say, I wish I had a better education or I had paid attention. The kids don't think that way, all right? It's the parents' job to get it through to their children of how important it is. And just insist. Why? Because I said so, if that's what it takes, folks. It's that simple. The government is spending more and more and more money and getting less and less and less for it because of the way our school system works. Throwing money at the problem has never solved the problem, all right? Financing a problem or financing a solution is the right way to go about it. Government doesn't understand education, all right? Teachers and administrators understand education, and they need to be listened to more. Corporations have what they call headhunters, where if you're looking for a man who's going to run your accounting department, there are companies out there who particularly go out and woo the right man for the job. And I think we can do that with teachers. I think we can increase their salaries, and I think we can find the best people in the workforce to teach our children, instead of looking down and go, oh, you want to be a teacher? Come on, you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or something else? And I think that teachers get very little respect in that regard, and they're so important to our future. And it's become obvious because generations, beginning in the 50s, our generations have gotten dumber and dumber and dumber. Is it the media? Hey, parents, no TV during the week, all right? Put your texting down, okay? Study, read a book. Those are things that we're not doing with our children, and it's killing us on the world stage. Thank you for your time. I talk about this and other matters in my book called Under New Management. It's an ebook on Amazon.com. And the next chapter we're going to talk about is national health. And it's somewhat related to our education system as well. And until then, be safe.